Tom Sodeika, so good to have you on the show.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having us.
So you did something very special just now. At the end of your presentation, you called up a number of the students here at the Turning Point USA conference.
Yes.
And you wanted to thank them. Can you explain what happened there?
Yeah, so actually, if you saw Donald Trump's speech today, he told the funny story about going to the academy and shaking the hands of the graduates. And he said, you know, how many are there? 1,100. I'll do it. So there's 1,500 to 2,000 kids here. We're given about a 20-minute program slot. So the only way that we could spread the thank you is to ask members of the kids to come up, and we could at least start with 6 of them and have them go back and pass it on. Just a symbolic way for us to say thank you, because what they're doing is so special.
So you mentioned that they risk a lot by standing up.
They do risk a lot, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can. I was at a campus clash event last December in Chicago, which was supposed to be held at DePaul, a Catholic university that blackballed Turning Point USA, an organization for students defending limited government, free markets, and capitalism. And so it was moved to the Marriott Hotel downtown Chicago. And what was nice is instead of anticipating 700 to 800 students from DePaul, we got about 1,200 students from DePaul, University of Illinois Circle campus, some University of Chicago students. And there was a number of African American and Latino kids, young people that stood up and said, I've been ostracized by my family, I've been defriended, I've been mocked, ridiculed, and you know, it takes a certain amount of courage, especially in the formative years. Think about yourself growing up at 16, 17, 18, 19, where you're still trying to find your way and trying to find some confidence, and to have this amount of negativity and rejection thrown, and all really for political purposes. It seems it's so unseemly, it's so un-American, and so from hearing from those kids firsthand experience, I have a true understanding of what they've got at risk. I met a young lady yesterday who was in Texas and went out with her girlfriends just for a girls' night out, and she had a MAGA t-shirt on. She and her friends were accosted, assaulted, battered by groups of young men, all for political reasons, attacking women. I mean, it seems as if all decorum and chivalry and everything is gone. So yes, these kids, a long answer to say, yes, these kids do put themselves at risk.
Wow. So when President Trump spoke this morning, he talked about the American dream versus the socialist nightmare. I understand this is something very close to you as well, since your father actually
Mother and father
fled the communism. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, my parents are from Lithuania, and they were young at the end of World War II when Russia took over the Baltics and a lot of other, East Germany, and a lot of other satellites, and began to convert them to these socialist, the Soviet Union. They had to run away, and for different reasons. My mother's brother, my uncle, was a resistance fighter. Though he was killed, they discovered his identity. And in those times, anybody that was found to be in the resistance, they would seek out the families and kill the families. So for that reason, my family left there. On my father's side, they had done well. They had several restaurants. My grandfather had a technical school. And folks like that, again, don't fit the socialist and communist structure. So they left. And they went to displaced persons camps in Bavaria and in Germany, and waited there 5 years until they were invited to come to the United States. And so when they came to the States, my father came in through the port of New Orleans. He received this Liberty Collection book, which is beautiful. It has the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Monroe Doctrine in a parchment form. And it's also kind of neat. My father passed away in March, and so I found this in going through his effects, how he's trying to work out the currency, because obviously it varies from the Deutsche Marks, you know. So anyway, growing up, they taught us the respect of our heritage, but they also taught us the love of America for the freedom that it brought. And America, as its founding, as it is described in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, is really a beautiful way for man to self-govern with the most amount of freedom. And that, as the president said, and I'm glad he said it that way, because I believe that the presidential election and this fight we are all having is that of the socialist nightmare versus the American dream.
Yes, how does it make you feel, you know, some politicians and you know, other people on, you know, on the other side of the president putting forward these socialist or communist ideas? Does that make you worried? Does that?
It troubles me very much, because it means that academia, media, entertainment, and to my dismay, and one of my greatest disappointments, even in the C-suites in corporate America, leftism and this I'm sorry, deranged concept, worldview of, you know, total equality is so pervasive, and I believe they feel that they have gone far enough in convincing a majority of the society that they can now bring that about. And that to me is a concern. I truly believe 18 to 20% of the people are there who might think that, but part of the left's approach is to bombard us with the propaganda to make us feel as if we're in a minority position, when I don't believe that we are. And even if we were, I will continue to fight for the American dream and the American way.
So you're in business. How have the past 2.5 years been under the Trump presidency?
Actually, they've been excellent. And in my business, we do payroll processing, tax filing for small to mid-sized companies.
That's a great indicator.
Across the United States. And so we have a very good sort of anecdotal small snapshot, 3,000 companies, 1,000 to 4,000 employees across the United States. And 90% of them are experiencing increase in headcount, increase in hours, overtime is rising, wages are rising, wages are truly rising for the first time significantly in 3 years. In the previous administration, it was very difficult because the amount of administrative burden, which is such an invisible cost to the consumer, to the media, to everybody else, that all of a sudden, to run your business, it's going to cost you $1,000 more per employee a year. Now that's going to have an impact on costs, and we can't all keep raising our prices to meet those and try to meet those profit demands. So with the regulations being rolled back, big contribution. The tax cuts were big for the corporations, were very helpful, and so now we're seeing true growth in wages. We're seeing a lot of bonusing that took place. Even in my company, we had our best year in 2018 in terms of growth, and that again comes from our existing client base growing in its headcount and volume, plus the additional clients that came to us by virtue of referrals and our advertising with Salem Radio, our partnership with Salem Radio.
Well, it's always wonderful to hear good news. Mr.
Yes.
Sodeika, thank you so much for being on the show.